Welcome, welcome, welcome to the UpKeep Pledge Pros Podcast, a podcast dedicated to unmatched value and unwavering support for our customers and the community at large. Today, we have a maintenance and reliability manager, an industry expert, and his name is Eric Downs with CDF Distributors in Tennessee. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're very glad to have you. Eric and I chatted a little bit online. Eric is like me. He started out as a technician. He worked his way up into various roles that we'll talk about, eventually becoming a maintenance and reliability manager. Super important. I know there's a lot of technical trades, technicians, people out there turning their wrenches, doing the work, that are always wondering, where do I go? What can I do? Right? And Eric, just like me, having you on here to tell that story, I was in the same boat as you, technician to maintenance manager to director to all that stuff, right? And as you know, it's a wild thing, and a lot of luck is involved, a lot of good hard work is involved. So before we get into all those things, Eric, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and what you're currently doing for CDF Distributors.
Sure. So yeah, I'm located in Middle Tennessee, just north of Nashville. Been
Nice.
in this area my entire life, so never found any reason to leave it. It's a nice area, a lot of good opportunities here. Been in the trade for about 15 years total now, and right now just really focused on building a maintenance program where I'm currently at, really from the ground up. Been doing that for the last few years and trying to move from reactive to proactive.
Sure.
And kind of change that culture and mindset there. So super excited about being able to talk about that journey a little bit and something I'm very passionate about, which is the trades.
Yeah. It's very, very, very important thing.
Yep.
Building maintenance and reliability programs from the ground up. I've also done that.
Yep.
It can look like a mountain a lot of times. Um,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of interdepartmental symbiosis and communication and understanding, a lot of buy-in, right? So I get it, and I commend you for getting after it, man. It's very important, and I'm sure that uh, it's easier for you having been a person who's done the work.
Absolutely. Having firsthand experience being, boots on the ground, doing it before, you bring a lot of good insight when you're kind of looking at it from a 30,000 foot view. So it definitely brings a lot of value when you've been able to do that.
Yes, it's. I often say, and I've talked to a lot of maintenance people. I also say that a lot of people get mad at me when I say this, that you can tell in maintenance leadership when someone has done the work and they're in a leadership position, and someone who has not done the work and they're in a
Yep.
leadership position. I'm not saying that the people who haven't done the work can't do a good job. All I'm saying is that you can normally tell a difference. They walk the walk a little differently and they talk the talk a little bit differently,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
So Eric, big thing for me with you and we, like I keep saying, we're very similar, and I can't get away from saying that how I love these stories is, can you take us back to you getting into the trades? I know you were was it a maintenance technician at one
Yes,
point?
sir.
What
Mhm.
were did you choose to become a maintenance technician? Did you drop out of college like me and take the different route? So give me some progressions. Let's start at the beginning and let's work our way up to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out much similar to you, and probably like a lot of young 18-year-old kids, didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was a senior in high school. I took shop classes, did things like that, had a lot of interest in some of those things, but it just wasn't something that we talked about a lot. Didn't even realize there was a trade school within the county that I lived at the
Right.
time. So made the decision to go to community college and made it a semester, flunked out of it, hated it. Knew I
Same.
didn't.
Me
Yeah, same
too.
story, man. And I knew that was just not for me. I had a dad that was an AP mechanic,
Nice.
aircraft mechanic, and so I started talking to him and looking at the different avenues that the trade schools, provided. And when I first got into it, industrial technology, mechatronics, things like that, maintenance technician, lingo, I chose it not really knowing if I would like it. I really wanted to go more on the electrical side of it. But once I got into it, I just found out I really enjoyed the whole aspect of it, from hydraulic, pneumatics to motors to everything. So ended up doing the entire course, about a year and a half vocational training. Graduated and landed my first job working for the Kroger company, the grocery. company at one of their fulfillment and distribution centers, and that's kind of where it took off from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a college dropout myself.
Yep.
I went to automotive school, so I went to trade school to become an automotive mechanic.
Hmm.
I did that, and I started working in a small shop. The recession hit, that small shop closed down for a bit. I went and
Yep.
joined the service, right? So I get it, man. I eventually transitioned to heavy and industrial machinery, but the hydraulics, the
Yeah.
motors, the industry, just the heavy equipment and heavy industry is just awesome. And I know, like you and I, there are other kids out there who are like, maybe I don't want to do the traditional thing, right? Maybe I don't want to get $150,000 in debt and then come out and make 15 bucks an hour. Um, so anybody listening, right? I mean, you have two people right now who started at the bottom and they've worked their way to the top. It can be done. Um, and it's immensely valuable, and the trades are only getting smaller, so the opportunity is getting bigger. You have a bigger opportunity to get a good job, to get an apprenticeship, to go to a trade school, to make six figures in 6 months of starting a job. It is not off the table.
Yep.
That's awesome, Eric. So from there, so school, you went and become working for Kroger. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so I spent about 3 to 4 years working out on the floor, just as a maintenance technician. I was getting to work on all types of different equipment, learning a ton. I had some really older technicians that kind of took me under their wing, and just like you said it too. And I was, fortunate enough to be taught that right when I came in the door as a kid who really didn't know a lot. But I mean, if you're willing to learn and you're willing to pay attention and just willing to work hard,
Yeah.
um, can succeed very quickly. And I was very fortunate and blessed for that to happen. I spent 3 to 4 years out on the floor, and then Kroger came in from the corporate level in engineering and wanted to implement maintenance excellence, which was, a maintenance program, reliability, and really ramp it up at our facility. And it created a position that was a maintenance planner and scheduler that we currently didn't have.
Nice.
And to be honest with you, I probably had the least amount of experience as a technician, but I'd worked hard, I cared, and honestly, luck be the draw. I was a young kid that was good on computers, so they were like, "Hey, this guy could probably do it," and I was given that opportunity to do that, and spent 13 years at that facility, getting to
As
be the mess administrator with planning and scheduling. Moved against
nice.
management position through that role as well, and it just opened up a ton of doors with
Yes.
jumping into that, with something I didn't even know existed, didn't even know what that role meant, never even heard of it, at that point in time. So spent a lot of good years there learning a lot in that role.
That's awesome. Planning and scheduling is pound for pound your biggest return on any type of maintenance, right? And I know you know this, but a lot of people don't. There's a lot of companies that run maintenance organizations without a planner or a scheduler.
Sure.
They try to get the maintenance manager to juggle all these things and order parts, or a maintenance supervisor order parts and schedule all these things, and it just doesn't work out. And planning and scheduling are two separate jobs. A lot of times they hire someone to do both, but in reality, you should have two. One
Yes.
plans, one schedules, right? Were
Absolutely.
you both, or were you did you have a counterpart?
No, I was actually both at our facility, but
Yeah.
depending on the size of the team and the facility you were at, we did have locations that had one planner, one scheduler, things like that. But I got to do both, and it was a good thing. Like I said,
Yeah.
I learned both aspects of it,
Right.
and very different. And man, I still use a lot of things that I learned during those years today, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you have to, right? I mean the planning and scheduling aspect in a facility or any organization is the tether to the operation. It's like it's really, having your planners and schedulers into production meetings, having them abreast of all operational communication so they know the changes. They have a line of communication to people who make the decisions for stopping production, starting production early, bringing equipment down, cleaning, all the opportunities that you can have to be symbiotic with that
Mhm.
department. They've got to be plugged into,
Yep.
right? And you having done that and then moving into leadership,
Yep.
the understanding is so much better.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely paves the road for you to be able to be in a leadership position. not just in the maintenance field either, but we had many guys that was in our trade throughout the company that transitioned into operations that led facilities because
Sure.
they had such an in-depth understanding of how maintenance tethers with operations and being able to speak to that intelligently, how this decision impacts, this ROI or this type of, revenue, and how all this impacts the company and the business as a whole, opens up a million doors for you and avenues you never even thought when you first get in the trade.
Yeah, that's right. A good friend of mine, George Williams from Reliability X. I don't know if you're familiar with George.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Um, Great guy, good friend of mine, mentor. He always says, and I wholeheartedly believe this, and to me, it's a fact. It's, the operation decides how they're going to run their machines. Maintenance is a second thought,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Machines break and then people go maintenance fix. When in reality, we should be designing and operating machines correctly so that maintenance is there to maintain the
Yep.
designed capacity of that machine. Um, so having, you being in a role where you can communicate those things and there's mutual understanding, is just invaluable. So you being the planner scheduler, where did you go from there after 13 years?
So after about 13 years there, I transitioned over to CDF Distributors and came in as the maintenance manager there initially. And again, so a little bit smaller company from Kroger, but you can picture not having any type of maintenance program at the time, really not even a maintenance team. Most things was outsourced, or it was even operators that was kind of fixing the equipment because they were so familiar with it. And
Sure.
so the entire role for me was them literally realizing that, hey, we need to get somebody in here that's got some experience that can help build this thing out. And so I was able to spend the first about year and a half that I was here with the company, just getting basic stuff off the ground, which was a preventive maintenance schedule, looking at what current state was, critical spare parts, just the basic stuff to be able to kind of stabilize the operations a little bit and what they were doing. And, from there, and talking about opportunities and doors that open up to you, I spent the last about year and a half also right outside of that transitioning into the director of operations, and I was able to be in that role
Cool.
for a little while, mainly because of the experience that I had with maintenance and ability and engineering, that I was able to bring that into the operational side of the company as well and help build up some departments like safety and quality and put some people in place and things like that. And it wasn't until about 6 months ago I transitioned back into maintenance reliability, because at the end of the day, it's okay to say that a seat that you're in, you don't really like it as much. And that's kind of where I was at. I was doing okay with it, that we were doing good as a business and a company. We were doing a lot of good things. But I was like, man, I'm just passionate about the trades and the maintenance side of things. So I was able to transition back into that role, and I was very fortunate to be able to do it. But the experiences that you gain and the opportunities that you get, they're wide open for anybody that's willing to take them.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. I mean, I've done a lot of jobs that were cool at the time, right? But I've always been pulled back to turning the wrenches, to
Yep,
leading
absolutely.
technicians, leading maintenance managers, engineers, team. Like I just can't get away from it.
So,
I work for Upkeep because I'm very passionate about Upkeep and software that enables maintenance to do the job, right? It enables the way that work is actually done. And I come like you, I was the age of computers coming up through the trades. So when I worked for the Caterpillar dealer, all the technicians there were old heads, man, and they were coming to me for laptop troubleshooting and electrical troubleshooting and things like that, right? Not that they were bad, it's just that they had been there 30 years coming up on mechanical pump and line and all these things that it wasn't the same. Um, but that the skill sets, they just change, right? And they have to evolve. And
yep.
being in maintenance leadership, you get to help recognize those changes, facilitate those changes, promote those changes, and push those changes, whether it be from technicians to, understanding the operational teams and how they can help the maintenance department or how they can help each other, right? And Yeah,
Yep.
I get it. Maintenance has pulled me back and back and back, but I'm a
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
maintenance
definitely an
person.
itch that you can't get away from sometimes. And that's definitely where my passion comes from. And especially as I've been in the trade for so long and worked with executives all the way down to operators, right? And tried to bridge that gap of understanding it. And honestly, the book from UpKeep Asset Operations helped me understand that how even technicians need to understand how their value is
Of
is
course,
driving that bottom line,
of
right? How
course.
they're not just fixers, but they really do contribute to the success of the entire business. And so stuff like that is just what I'm passionate about because it wasn't a norm when I first got in to understand that. You just kind of the guy that rode around and fixed stuff
Did the
that worked.
work.
You just turn the wrench and but understanding that the skill set and the skill level that you can elevate people to is just immeasurable. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to tie technicians' um, involvement with machines to downstream processes.
Sure.
If
Yep.
a machine broke down or we were doing a service, I'd go out. I did a lot of the work with them, you know,
Hmm.
um, go out and say, hey, this is the reason we do this. This is the outcome if we don't
Hmm.
do this. This is the outcome if we do this. This is the risk. This is the potential. This is the capacity. This is what operations expects. This is what our customers expect. And this is how you touching this machine impacts all of those things down the line.
Yep.
Uh, and they love to hear it. And then they understand cause and effect. They understand if I don't do this correctly, or I use the wrong lubricant, or I don't torque this bolt, or I
Yep.
don't put safety wire on this. They understand that there's a compounding effect in all the things we do when we create variability, because we are the biggest variable, humans, right?
Yep.
If you tell me to pull an engine out of a D8 dozer, I'm going to do it differently than you will.
Yep.
Now,
Absolutely.
there's one thing that unifies us, and that's a procedure,
Yep.
right? So, so with your CMMS, you don't have to tell me what CMMS you use, but with your CMMS, do you have documented tasks, checklists, procedures, pictures, specs, all that stuff in your task list for your scheduled work?
Yeah, we do. We do. We just actually implemented a CMMS not long ago, actually, and so we're still pretty green in kind of the first phase, moving into the second phase of implementation of it. But it's been a game changer for sure. Being able to just from your cell phone, right, be able to scan a barcode and be able to see work history, be able to see calls, see what you did before, see
Yep.
what parts have been used, right, and get a streamlining how we bring that value to the business, right? And I think that's what a good CMMS system helps to understand because also it helps to create the culture like you were just talking about to where really we take technicians and even operators from kind of a renter mentality to an ownership mentality, right? And getting them streamlined into that understanding that hey, you're an owner, you own this, this is your equity right here that you're driving when it comes to these assets, and so utilizing that CMMS, getting a CMMS off the ground to be able to just give us basic history, basic organization to preventive maintenance and that program that we're implementing that it's already paid dividends for sure streamlining that.
Yeah, and it's wild to think that what you when you go from nothing or a poor product to
Yeah.
something that is uh, moderate to excellent product,
Yep.
just those basic things people recognize. But then, like, they recognize there's such a benefit, right? Just the asset hierarchy,
Oh
up schedule, parts, like those are like people are like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, no, that's basic.
yeah,
Those are
beginner level.
base. Those are beginner level things. And when you
Yep.
get those things off the ground and they're functioning the way you want, everyone's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, this is amazing. The cool thing is you can go further than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
and and people, it's just a funny thing to see someone go from, we call it maintenance maturity, right? To
Yep.
go from, pen and paper to a CMMS to understanding the planning, scheduling, asset life cycle
Mm-hmm.
to condition-based maintenance to, business intelligence, AI, financial. Like there's this whole progression that you can do, and most people are between that one, two, and three, and they're making massive strides in their business, right?
Absolutely. And I've been very fortunate in the two companies that I've worked for in my career. I mean, I've had opportunities in both to start with nothing and be able to implement something. And just like you said, in both cases, it goes from really not having any good organization or structure or an understanding of why we do certain checks that we do, and why do we just run around fixing things, to, okay, now we're in the beginner stage of it. Like, oh, I actually have work orders assigned to me now. Oh, I actually can look at work history now and see what I did a week ago to it. Start looking at those trends. Just simple organization, and them seeing the benefit of it, of, hey, this technology stuff isn't that bad. It actually helps me do my job in
Yep.
a better, efficient way. But it's also helped me in my role in leadership, because I've been there, I've seen it come from nothing to something, and been a part of how important that leadership role is to be able to implement something like that and be
Sure.
able to get the cultural divides of, oh, it's something new, or that's not going to work, or, I don't trust it. You hear that a lot with some of the older guys and stuff, but very good leadership experience in being able to do that. I may have hated it at the time because it was just harder to get done, but it's paid dividends in my leadership style for sure. Being able
Yeah.
to,
You normally, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of CMMS users, customers, and you normally, this is my evaluation of the conversations, is you normally get one of two kinds of people. Someone who is very, very interested in turning over the rocks in their organization with the CMMS and really get to the bottom of issues that are causing problems, get some transparency, get some, I'm just going to say transparency to accommodate for a financial operate, all those things, right? Get some visibility into what's happening. And then you have the other side of the coin of people who don't want to do that because it will uncover the shortcomings of their department, and they don't want that. So it's kind of like, oh, if I have to implement a CMMS, I'm going to be held accountable for things. I'm going to have responsibility ensuring that things are right because now I have the visibility of it. So I see those two different types of people a lot. And hearing you say that CMMS has helped you by turning over the stones and showing our flaws, that's a good thing. That's opportunity, right? It also allows you as the leader to connect the rest of the business to the maintenance department.
yeah. Yep, absolutely. It definitely streamlines that. And I think too, just you said it right, like looking at things as not as issues, because I think that's sometimes what they look at it as. Oh
Of course.
man, my time's being tracked now. My work's being tracked. I got to take a picture. I got to sign off on it. I got to do a lot of these accountability type things. And I've always tried to go into it of, it's not me trying to micromanage you, or me saying that you're not a good technician, you're not smart in what you do, but it's a way for us to look at opportunities to do even better.
Correct.
Look at ways that we were falling short, not because we wasn't good, but we just simply didn't know. And
Right.
now we have something that's actually giving us the data to be able to see what we couldn't see, right?
Sure.
And be able to take advantage of it and even get more wins on down the
Yeah,
road.
of course. And I've implemented many CMMSs in many locations, and I always tell technicians, you guys always come to me with issues. There's
Mm-hmm.
always something that you would like to be corrected that I can help you with. But
Yep.
you have to understand that people above me not always don't always just take my word for it,
Yep.
right? So I have to have something to show them.
Yep.
And we'll talk about tracking time. Like tracking time, technicians come to me all the time. Oh, we're overworked. We don't have enough people. Really? Start doing your work orders, track the time accurately, and then
Yep.
I will have the data to go, hey, look, we have this many planned hours per week and this many available man hours. There's too big of a delta here, right? And another thing is do you like getting called in to work on call? Do you like to work late? Do you want to stay after hours? All of these things can be understood and minimized through leveraging your inputs as a technician into the CMMS. So you
Absolutely.
can everything like, and I know it's hard for it's our job as leaders to help them recognize that and connect to the business, but everything positive about the maintenance organization comes from the technicians and the people doing the work's inputs to the process. Because if we don't
Absolutely.
know, we can't help.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we have poor data or not enough incomplete things, then I can't make good decisions on your behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I've always tried to advocate being in leadership too, is trying to get these guys to understand how executives think, and trying to get executives to understand how technicians think, right?
Correct.
And sometimes you get guys that's like that. Well, why won't they give us the money? Why won't they do that? They don't know what's going on out here, right? And you try to get those guys to understand is that the data I'm presenting is only as good as the data you're putting in there. And I have to be able to communicate in dollars and cents of why this investment is what we need to do. And that's all those guys care about. It is show me the dollars, speak to me in dollars, tell me why you need it, how we're going to bring value with it. And most of the time I can sell anything, right? Leadership sometimes is a sales position. Well, you got to be able to sell certain things, and being able to sell technicians on understanding of that is your voice, the CMMS system. Like
That's right.
that is your greatest megaphone in helping me understand your day to day and understand what you're going through and being just honest with it, right?
That's
I
right.
mean, that, and I think you brought that to light too, that I think time is probably the biggest one you hear first off is, oh, you can't get all that done, or that ain't right, time of estimate, things like that. And I always start out, just be honest with it. I
That's
may
right.
be way off on one end of it, and I may not be giving you near enough time to do something. And that's okay for the first 6 months or so. Let's
Yep.
get some data, let's get some feedback, but you've got to be honest in what you're putting in there and doing it the right way. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to, get some wins.
It's a CYA, right? For them and for you. Um, Say there's a safety incident, machine fails and someone gets hurt, or you create an environmental health and safety incident, right? I, I know when I was a director of maintenance and reliability, if we had an incident at a facility, the first thing I go to that maintenance manager or that engineer and I say, hey, show me the last work that was done on that machine.
Yep. Show me the history on it.
The first thing I'm going to ask you, right? I'm
Yep.
going to go through the checks. We're going to verify them in person. We're going to see if
Mm-hmm.
things were signed off on. We're going to see if parts were consumed or pictures were taken, specifications were looked at. Um,
Yep.
we're going to look at all those things. So it's a straight, it's like literally a straight line benefit to them. But you know that. Uh, so Eric, tell me what you do in your free time.
Man, free
Hobbies.
time taken up by two really energetic kids. I got
Nice.
two kids, got a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, one
Me
in gym,
too.
one in baseball, football, you name it. That's what we're doing most of the time. And then we're heavily involved in our local church as well. So we get involved in a lot of different things we got going on there. So always on the go, definitely full schedule.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'll be speaking at one of our customers' events, Salvation Army, in a couple weeks. And I was, they're a faith-based organization as well.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I wonder if I could find something in the Bible that references maintenance.
Yeah,
And I did.
yeah.
And it's a awesome quote. It's Ecclesiastes. It's like 20 dash something, but it says through it's like through lazy bodies and idle hands the roof leaks,
Oh yeah, yep,
right? And you
yep,
think about that since the beginning of people and as history as far as you want to believe goes back, right? People
yep,
have been maintaining things. As
yep.
soon as something is created, do you have to maintain it?
Sure.
It's the most basic function of preservation.
Yeah,
And it's just crazy to think, right?
yeah, absolutely. It
Wild.
doesn't matter what you make an investment in; it's got to be maintained one way or the other,
That's
right?
right.
And you decide how much you want to invest in it and how
Yep.
you want to keep it going and how long you want it to go,
That's right.
and do that every day with decisions that we make.
Yep. And then they start at the design. If you can't get your design right, you're going to
That's
do a lot
right.
more maintenance because maintenance does not
Yeah,
improve.
you're going to have a harder time down the road, so
That's
you want
right.
to get that first few steps right.
Yes. So, Eric, how can listeners get a hold of you if they want to chat, talk maintenance, bring you on another show, right? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely you can find me on LinkedIn, my profile there. Send me a direct message. Be willing to share personal email, work email, whatever I can do. Phone number, so I can talk to you on the phone. Doesn't matter, but that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you look me up on LinkedIn, I'm always available.
Awesome. Eric, I want to thank you, man. I love talking to people who have started at the bottom and worked their way to the top. I talk to hundreds of technicians that think about that. Where do I go? What can I do? Right. And having your story on the show today is a testament to that. And if anybody's listening, please, please, please know there are options. There are things you can do. You're learning extremely valuable skills in turning the wrenches, doing the work, being on the front lines. I know it may seem tough and it might be shitty sometimes, but trust me, it is invaluable the skills that you're learning as long as you're putting your nose to the grindstone and you're doing the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. I've told many kids in trade schools, talking to them, things like that is what I'm looking for is just an eagerness to learn and an attitude that wants to show up and work. Right, that's really all you need to get
Yeah,
started. And you have so many opportunities, not just in that trade, but in many different avenues of entrepreneurship. You name it, doesn't matter. If you're willing to work hard and get after it, sky's the limit for what you want to get.
100%. Eric, thank you very much. On behalf of Upkeep, we thank you so much for being on the show today, and we will see you on the next one.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
See you, brother.
Thank you.